Inside PressBox is presented by Freedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Freedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs. And welcome to another edition of Inside PressBox. I'm your host, Stan the Fan Charles. Hope you all saved me some turkey with stuffing. This week, I'll be talking with Mike Gibbons of the Sports Legends Museum about its December 6th event, a legendary evening which will honor Baltimore Colts greats. But let's kick off this week's show with our latest edition of Sports SquareOff, hosted by Richard Sher.
All right. Thank you very much, Stan the Fan. Let's get right to it. Penn State, what happened there? The sexual abuse scandal against Jerry Sandusky, former defensive coordinator. Stan the Fan, as you look at this guy on the monitor, what are your thoughts?
Well, the first thing that hit me when I started to piece together the facts was why a guy at 55 years of age, lifer, as far as a coach, would have retired at 55. That to me is a major red flag that people knew sort of what he was into and they just wanted to kind of push him out.
Steve Davis.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, sir. Oh, well, let me introduce you. Steve Davis from Norris and Davis, 1057, The Fan. And across from Stevie, we've got a very tiny little guy, John Rallo, who's the owner of Shogun Fights, an MMA promoter. And you are great to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Gene Fugett, a regular on SquareOff and Sports SquareOff also. Former NFL player, played with the Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys. Now he plays with us. Of course, we're talking about something more serious than that. Go ahead, Steve.
My thoughts on Sandusky? Well, whoever writes the book on this, it's going to be an incredibly disturbing book when all is said and done. We don't know the various layers, but as Stan alluded to, how does a guy in 1998 undergo an investigation disappear from the program in 1999? Of course, everybody wants to know now about the whole McQuarrie situation and Joe Pa, and I think a lot's going to come out. And I think, one of the big questions Penn State's going to face now is what do you do about Joe Pa's legacy?
I mean, I'm going to have to agree with Steve and Stan. It's very disturbing and disgusting. And I mean, when I read over the grand jury testimony, and obviously that's all one side of the story, it's disturbing. I mean, it's disturbing that a man of that age would have a bedroom in his basement and go down and get in bed with these kids allegedly. And even beyond it, how did his wife not know these things were going on under their roof? So I think it's going to get uglier and uglier as time goes.
Yeah, but what happened with his 6 adopted kids?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm saying, when are one of them going to come forward?
And look how deep this goes. I mean, how many people really knew about it, and Paterno and the president of the university, and how far will this go? And everyone in town and the police department at Penn State. I mean, this is a pretty serious issue, Jim.
No, it goes all the way to the governor of Pennsylvania. I mean, the governor was actually investigating it, and when he gets elected, he could no longer investigate. No, I'm really sad. My father was born in Pennsylvania, and I grew up listening about Pennsylvania football and the kind of people that grew up there and lived there. And this is a mark against all of that, and I'm just so troubled, and I feel so much for the families involved.
Well, it is. It's a tremendously sad story. There's no question about it. And as Steve alluded to, what's going to be interesting is how that statue ends up staying up there. That's going to be a sorry reminder. And I just want to point out, Joe Pa now is 84, 85 years old. We look at him as if he's some type of grandfatherly, friendly guy.
Here he is many, many years
and I'm not alluding to him having committed any of those kind of crimes that Sandusky's being charged with, but when Joe was 50, he was a tough as nails SOB. You don't last in the profession he had. So we look at him through the eyes now of what we see now as this 84-year-old guy.
By the way, the statue cannot stay. I know that's going to be a big debate. Penn State, I believe, as much as he accomplished as a football coach, will essentially have to disown Joe Paterno if we come out to find through the investigation that he knew about this in 98, that's why Sandusky was out, and he knew more about it, then to me, I don't know how much longer Joe Paterno has, but this is the greatest sports scandal in the history of our country. 20, 30 years from now, people talk about Penn State. They will not be able to remind kids walking on that campus, checking out the school of Joe Paterno.
Well, regrettably, he's already been judged by his peers, and he's been fired.
And his name's been taken off of a score of awards, all right.
The other question here is what happens to the university? I mean, the federal government is investigating them, and if they find out that they didn't do their due diligence, they can pull federal funding from the school.
Well, that's
So
why the
how is this
president
gonna
got
affect
fired. See,
Penn
that's
State?
what you do when you have a crisis like that. If you fire the leaders, you can begin to insulate the institution.
Hope to.
Yeah, because it was the leaders were wrong.
John, you're a big sports promoter, so I wanted to ask you.
Is that a pun or?
Let's talk about the grandest. It was supposed to be the grandest prix ever, Labor Day weekend. Top race car drivers, as you know, came to Baltimore. Tens of thousands of people got involved and went to the race. Millions of dollars came to the city, and then it all crashed. Today, race promoter Baltimore Racing Development deep in the financial hole, owing $1.5 million in back taxes, unpaid services. Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake says she'll give them till the end of the year to make good or goodbye. And you're a big promoter. You know how things work. What went wrong here?
Well, honestly, I don't know that the Baltimore Racing Development Team was ever financially viable as a promoter, as a business to come here and do things. And part of the impropriety on my, view, being a promoter is they were given access to patrons' money before the event ever took place. The ticket company that handled their tickets allowed them, as ticket sales came in, to take that money and use it to try to, to get the infrastructure here to start to do, the things to make the race happen. And that's it's never permitted. I know when I do my events down at the arena, Ticketmaster forces me to keep that money in an escrow account.
Right.
I can't touch any of that money until the event's over and my bills are paid. So
This organization was, as John alluded to, and we helped promote the event. We were big supporters of it at PressBox. They were never funded properly.
Yeah.
And apparently just the way the management was put together turned out to be very ragtag.
We'll pick this up when we come back. Also, thanks to Murphy PA, the Murphy firm, for letting us use their wonderful SquareOff set, which you see every Sunday morning at 10 on ABC2. We'll hear from Steve and Gene on this issue of the Grand Prix in a moment. Stay with us.
PressBox and Sports Authority are celebrating youth sports this year. Register a youth team you know about at PressBoxOnline.com, and that team's entire youth organization could win unbelievable discounts at Sports Authority. Go to PressBoxOnline.com for complete details.